In this episode, I discuss with Paul Seibert, e-commerce director at SCG team, about the challenges brands face in supply chain and inventory management, the integration of ERP and e-commerce, and the emerging opportunities of shoppable video and social commerce. We explore the importance of sales in the international market, the expansion of channels and social media, the role of video in e-commerce, and the impact of AI on the industry. The conversation concludes with a discussion on market micro conditions, digital transformation, and the importance of clearing the clutter to think ahead. Join us on another exciting episode about the ever-changing world of e-commerce. Welcome to the E-com Pulse, your heartbeat to the world of e-commerce. Join us as we meet industry leaders, innovative entrepreneurs, and passionate professionals who are at the forefront of the e-commerce revolution. From groundbreaking technologies to marketing magic, E-com Pulse is your insider's guide to all things e-commerce. So plug in, gear up, and get ready for a pulse-pounding journey into the heart of e-commerce. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the E-com Pulse podcast. I'm Eitan Kotter, your host. I'm very excited to have a conversation today with Paul Seibert, e-commerce director at SCG team. Paul, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Doing great, Eitan. It's great to be a guest on the podcast today.
It's a pleasure to be here, for you to be here. I've been, searching about you, reading about you. You've done so many things in e-commerce, and I would love to hear more about that. So, Paul, let's start with your personal journey. Please share with us about your professional experience and, what are the things that you've accomplished during, all these years in e-commerce, and what are you focusing on these days?
So, Eitan, I've been very fortunate in the fact that, growing up in the Boston area, traversing through many venture capital-backed startups and larger companies in the Boston area.
Okay.
And then had the opportunity to work at NetSuite, which, as many of your listeners know, a lot of your audience members know, is one of the world's largest cloud-based ERP systems.
Sure.
I was really asked to help found the Suite Commerce Advanced e-commerce division there at NetSuite through the Oracle acquisition.
Yes.
And then, with that experience working with a lot of mid-sized small businesses, as well as some of the larger enterprises on Oracle NetSuite, then traversed into having my own firm, which really concentrates on that intersection of ERP and e-commerce.
Yes, it's really amazing. So you've been on the technology company side with some of the venture capital experiences, obviously moved to a larger enterprise with the acquisition of NetSuite by Oracle acquisition of NetSuite. Today you are managing a SCG team, right? You're focusing on really exciting projects. So let's dive in a little bit what you do in SCG, what you and your team are doing there. What's the focus areas that you take within the e-commerce landscape?
So, Eitan, a lot of times we are working with clients that are using e-commerce platforms, be it Shopify Plus or BigCommerce, or even NetSuite's own Suite Commerce Advanced. And then they have these needs to connect those front-end web stores, be it B2C or, as we all know, direct-to-consumer is a very hot trend and topic in e-commerce.
Sure.
So how do they, and then as well, we've seen with the pandemic and the after effects of the pandemic, all of the emphasis on supply chain. Really efficiencies there with warehousing and distribution. And so a lot of the clients that we work with have these business requirements or needs to connect the two sides of the house. So you have the front end, either B2B, B2C, or both in e-commerce. And then you need to connect that to your back end. So your warehouses, your distribution, your marketplaces, your big box retailers, Amazon Marketplace, those kinds of things.
Yes. So what are the main challenges that you see from the brand side these days in terms of supply chain, inventory management? What are the pain points that usually, they reach out to you for help?
Well, it really starts with the basics and the fundamentals, which really center around integration.
Yep.
So integration of not just the core shopping cart with the back-end warehousing and inventory management, but also the configuration of, let's say, a warehouse management system, getting that so that it's well connected, so that you can do things like provide on the front end. When you have a good solid integration between the front end and the back end, you can do things like offer clients shipping windows that are very accurate. You can offer them very accurate rates and calculations for their shipping costs. You can offer them different shipping methods. So those kinds of things are really paramount and more what we call the foundations.
Yes, obviously taxes, shipping, billing, all these functionalities and also flexibilities that obviously are 100% required in any front ends these days, right? Consumers are expecting a lot of options in terms of payment methods, shipping options, and variety of functionalities around that. And usually, obviously, there is a requirement that's coming from the shoppers themselves, right? And so there is on the one side, we have the shoppers' requirements, and things are changing so fast, right, in terms of the way we purchase. And obviously, the backend platform, the infrastructure need to support that. So in your experience and from the opportunities that you see, most of these capabilities are like provided in-house, or usually the brands are going like outsourcing, all these functionalities. What are the trends that you see? I mean, are they trying to focus on their core business, which is, products, marketing, or they also, try to take more responsibility on their supply chain, inventory, or just outsourcing this completely?
So that's a great question, Itan, and with your experience with shoppable commerce, you really see that's really the driving force, and we typically have in these mid-market, small and mid-sized businesses. We're really seeing is that there's some specialization in terms of user communities within that organization. So you might have an initiative where there's an advanced marketing. Let's say it's video shoppable commerce.
Okay.
And you're running a promotion. You need to tie that shopping commerce product, that application that you're using to provide that video shopping platform. You need to integrate that in with the back end and display that, let's say a promotional code, have it follow through. Maybe you're going to offer only certain items as part of that promotion.
Yes.
And so then you have a constituency group within that organization. Let's say it's the marketing manager or someone that's in charge of sales. And it's really, how do you interface with their team they have? Are you dealing with just one or two individuals that are maybe the department heads? And in those types of situations, you have to be prepared as an agency, like SCG team is, to not just work with whatever staff the client has. They might be working with an outside marketing agency. Okay. Let's say that they are producing video using a third-party video agency to use as the actual payload or delivery for the promotion. So we might have to wear a couple different hats and interface with those different constituency groups. But again, going back to the fundamentals, what our clients count on us for is to really pull that whole thing together, to keep all those moving pieces in place, and to make sure at the end of the day, they have, in the example that we just used, a successful promotion.
Sure. So obviously in this type of project, there is like a first phase of probably discovery and further investigation of, the existing infrastructure or tech stack or team or staff in place, right? And then you obviously analyze it, come up with some recommendations and like how to do things and how to implement and how to change processes. And what about the implementation itself? I mean, how much are you involved in the implementation and the implementation of the various processes and technologies within this type of environment.
Yeah, so that's again very insightful, I-10. So really what we're seeing is that to help these companies really mitigate whatever challenges they're facing, it takes an agency that can traverse all of these different platforms and that has experience and expertise that's very deep in these selected platforms.
Yes.
So that's one of the challenges that is faced by mid-market and small businesses in e-commerce, is not having access to all of the different levels of expertise across these different platforms throughout their tech stack. And that's where our agency comes into play.
Exactly.
And so to really evaluate these scenarios and to help accurately estimate the time frame for delivery and also the correct technical approach. We have a very advanced engineering team, certainly, but also the consulting team. And what we've done is we've really incentivized them to go through all the certifications and the trainings for all of the various platforms. So on a typical project team that a small or medium-sized business might be assigned, they're going to have access to not just myself personally in project oversight, all the benefit of the experience that I have, not just my ability to be the primary project stakeholder on the SCG team side, but also to make sure that they have access to trained consultants that can traverse not just NetSuite ERP, but also their warehouse management system, their sales and use taxes, their payment gateway, and then also the e-commerce platform. And so to do that, we partner with a lot of great companies so that we can fully service and support those applications, so we can cover whatever our clients want to accomplish in terms of e-commerce.
Yes. So obviously you are involved in direct-to-consumers opportunities and also like B2B opportunities. And in a B2B scenario, I mean, usually what we see also is more, I would say, diverse type of requirements or more comprehensive type of requirements, where there is an ERP in place or an ERP that needs to be updated and upgraded. And there is an e-commerce and they need to interact between themselves, right? And provide some various aspects of purchasing, like more payment options and quotation systems. And I'm sure that once you are interacting with these type of opportunities, then there is the concept of digitization or digital transformation concept, right? So what do we do with this ERP system? What do we do with the e-commerce system? Or they need to be updated? They need to work with one another? And how do we make this like a future-proof for at least for the next 3 to 5 years to make this work? So let's try to dive in. I think it's a very, very exciting topic about the intersection of e-commerce and ERP. Let's dive in on this specific use case. And I would love for you to share more. What do you see in the market right now? Based on your years of experience, what do you usually recommend customers, and what are the major trends that you see in this specific scenario?
Yeah, that's another great question, I-10. So essentially, it harkens back to my pedigree and my experience at companies like Oracle and NetSuite, and we really get into the nitty gritty where the rubber hits the road with consulting, and our consulting practice, being able to give the correct approach at the beginning. It's very difficult to go back and correct a project plan that has the incorrect technical approach. So that's one thing that we really focus on. We're very engineering centric to make sure that we don't wall off any opportunities for integrations that our clients may need. Certainly there's an aspect of turnaround to some of our work. Sometimes we have to undo what may be another agency, maybe that didn't have the expertise to traverse both e-commerce and ERP in the back end. But it really gets back to the basics of the current state of a client and the future state, and correct documentation of their current state and the project plan, the derivation of the project plan from the correct requirements that have been gathered, and I always use the term elicitation of requirements. I always tell my team, I tend to repeat myself when I speak with them in our morning stand-ups, but one of the big um, sayings that we have here at SCG team is really to make sure that we get it right the first time, and to make sure that we properly document the requirements into a statement of work and a detailed project plan.
Yes. So what are the special characteristics of an ERP evaluation or ERP integration with an e-commerce? Obviously, it's quite different than a small size brand. It might have like an accounting platform or some product management platform and probably email marketing. But ERP is much more comprehensive type of platform that deals with a lot of aspects of the business. What are you usually projects? These type of projects entails. I mean, are you also working on the ERP upgrade itself and also on the e-commerce side, or if you can share more details on that specific scenario of ERP e-commerce implementation.
Yes. So SCG team has always been founded on the principle of, and we launched this agency with a great deal of clarity around the fact that we wanted to exist at that very intersection of ERP and e-commerce. So ERP, as you say, enterprise resource planning, it really encompasses all aspects of a company's operations. And so one of the first steps is really documenting their ERP. Do they have one in place? Are they interested in finding out more about ERP and what types of ERPs are out there, either on premise, as we used to say, that's shrink wrapped software that's installed on servers that coexist or are located right on the company's property, versus cloud-based ERP like a NetSuite.
NetSuite, yeah.
So that's the first step, is to find out, do they have an existing ERP? Is this a migration from, let's say, a QuickBooks to a true cloud-based ERP like NetSuite? So there's a lot of work that we do there. And then whether they have NetSuite currently, or they're interested in obtaining other modules of NetSuite or another cloud-based ERP like an Epicor or an Infor, which are some others that we work with. And of course, there's QuickBooks Online. But one of the next steps is to find out what operations exist outside of the ERP in addition to e-commerce. So we know that we're going to integrate their e-commerce platform with their back end. But what other applications are maybe not currently integrated into their ERP system? So that might include something like a warehouse management system, or what we call a 3PL, which stands for third-party logistics.
Sure.
Which, as you know, is another company that's going to store the inventory of an e-commerce operation and then fulfill those orders on demand.
Yeah.
So we like to follow what we call the 100% rule, which means that for all of the aspects of the company's operations, we have all of those listed out into our project plan, all of those operations, integrations, and tasks. And that's the what we elicit the and derive the project plan from.
Yes.
It's not like we're a bunch of hunter-gatherers going out there and picking up the requirements off the field where they lie. It's really about asking the right questions and really getting those detailed answers and requirements from the client.
Yeah, usually they know they need to make a change and they need something new, right? But it's very difficult, to define exactly what it is. And then you come in, bring in your experience and asking the right questions so they can have maybe a future-proof thinking of what's required to put in place to support, the future demand. So in terms of the supply chain inventory management, that back-end side, I mean, there are various models in the market, obviously. I mean, there are a lot of great companies in the US who are providing warehousing and shipping services. Some of them are also providing, software to manage that. And, there are drop shippers and, various, aspects. What do you see in terms of the major challenges these days in these sectors of, managing inventory and supply chain? And how do you see this evolving, in the following years?
So another great question, Itan. We're seeing some trends with major involvement with smaller and smaller brands with 3PLs. And we're also seeing a trend in the adoption of very sophisticated warehouse management systems. And again, the adoption of these increasingly sophisticated warehouse management systems by mid-size and smaller size companies. And it's really to maintain their competitive advantage. With the pandemic, the shift to remote work, we're seeing an increase in competition. Certainly, there's a bigger demand from both B2B and B2C customers for tightened shipping windows, more advanced shipping options. And to be able to deliver those, we're really seeing more and more adoption of 3PLs and warehouse management.
Yes. What about domestic versus international? Do you see any trend in the market? I mean, brands are looking for international market, or they're still totally focused in the US? What are your thoughts in terms of, geographies and, international markets in general?
Yeah, another great question. So we've really always emphasized with our clients on the e-commerce side, seeking additional international marketplaces. Certainly, there's always the usual suspects of Canada here in the North American market.
Sure.
But what we're seeing is really the adoption of international buying and selling capabilities and functionalities on the platform level. So we're really seeing that with a big emphasis with Shopify and Shopify Plus with their markets editions.
Correct.
A lot of different features coming out. And then also another one of our major partners, BigCommerce, really coming out with a lot of internationalization features, a lot of technologies around automatic translation based on generative AI. And that's really aimed at opening up international markets. Certainly, we always recommend a first step is Canada, but there's a lot of other great markets in Europe, certainly in Asia that are opening up. And then also we think about reverse logistics and the supply chain for finished goods, not just, shifting from China, which had, an amazing, shipping scenarios for many of our merchants, but also to different markets. And then all the software that's necessary for that. So maybe you're getting your garments now from Vietnam or Cambodia. Maybe you're getting some electronic devices actually manufactured in India now.
So you see brands jumping the bandwagon. I mean, they're taking this step of, challenges of taxes and shipping and, different marketing, different languages. You still encourage customers to think about it and grow internationally, right? It's still a very, very important part of growth these days, right?
Yes, and you brought up the ever important topic. Itan, it's always death and taxes, right?
Yeah.
So, sales and use taxes are just so important with the international markets, and we're seeing a lot of that with some of our sales and use tax partners, where they're really putting an increased emphasis on the ability to calculate and to have that knowledge or that content, as they say in sales and use taxes, for the different tax codes and rates in international markets. So again, Europe, a big suspect there. And then, being able to sell these, let's say, medical devices in European markets. It's a very, again, our platform providers are putting a lot of emphasis on that for international markets. And we are seeing a fair amount of uptake with some of our clients.
Yes. Yeah, so this is very, very important topic. And so what are your thoughts on, D2C brands, for example, adding, a B2B component to their business, or even, go to Amazon or trying to sell on, various channels like social media, and all people are, companies are trying to find ways to compete, right? And to increase revenues, and even happy to share their revenues with other channels. Right. So I'm sure that you also see this as a major demand, right? Lately, definitely in the last year, and also for sure planned for 2024, adding more and more channels to existing, right, platforms in order to try to find ways to scale. So I just wanted to have, have your thoughts on this way of implementing these type of capabilities to existing platform, and how do you see these trends of going to social and going to additional marketplaces, for increasing sales?
Yeah, so I'm seeing two big trends there, I10. So first of all, we're seeing that the marketplace integration with Amazon Marketplace, certainly fulfillment by Amazon. We talked earlier about that multi-homing of your inventory, and that software to tie all that together. We're seeing that as not just a competitive advantage as it's been in the last few years, but now it's really a prerequisite. And again, we're seeing that move down the chain from the enterprise into the mid-market, smaller companies selling on Amazon, needing consultative advice on how to sell on Amazon, how to do those types of big box retailer integrations. How do I take my luxury apparel and sell it into retailers like Nordstrom Rack, Saks Fifth Avenue, Macy's? How do I do that with EDI or what we call electronic data interchange format? So we're seeing that become more and more important to companies that are, again, in that mid-market and even smaller.
Yeah.
And then on the second part of that is really these advanced technologies that are coming out for the front end, for marketing on social media. So we're seeing a lot of trends with the popularity of video, right? So also the fact that so many companies in so many different industry verticals have figured out now how to leverage video. So we have a lot of entrepreneurs and creators that have started companies, particularly in the D2C space, and we're seeing what they're doing on video. And it's TikTok, it's Instagram, it's Reels and Stories, and then of course it's YouTube Shorts and YouTube. So we're seeing that being a very significant trend, not just for D2C and direct to consumer, but also now increasingly for B2B.
Yes,
it's introducing things like product reviews, user guides, what we used to call material safety data sheets, getting that information in a more consumable format, and really using that as a leverage for branding. That's what we're really seeing.
I mean, video is such an important component in any marketing budget, right? I mean, these days, it's probably the largest expense, for video production, creating all these short forms, long form for training, interaction with the UGC creators, influencers, and the ability to integrate this in a very intelligent way into the platform. And video is such an important component. But on the other hand, I feel that brands are feeling the pressure that they need to move and to be more authentic, more interesting, more emotionally triggering activities by shoppers. But they don't know, and probably the industry is still learning, right, how to use video in the correct way. Obviously,
Indeed.
we have like the traditional TV shopping channels like the QVC and HSN, right, which are still thriving. They're still doing an amazing business volumes of GMVs on their platforms. But it's new and emerging short form videos that still needs to be proven that is valid for shopping, right? There is a lot of hype, definitely. The TikTok is encouraging creators or brands to spend like 2 hours doing live events to sell products for the algorithm to work in their favor, right? So, I mean, it's still, so many, we are in the early stage of real, effective adoption of video. And, definitely the technology companies and, the e-commerce platform technology companies are already providing this type of solutions. But I feel that, the brand and the market are still struggling to implement it in the right way, because video is not just technology. It's also the art of scripting and the production and the setup and the lighting. And are you going to go into a fully polished production, or it's going to be like a 20-second, really authentic, unpolished type of video? What's working, right? So what do you hear from customers? What do you hear from customers on video and interactivity? A new way of purchase, on social?
So I think you hit the nail right on the head in terms of the amount of work that's really required for these companies, particularly in the mid-market and small businesses. And what we always coach them is to not get overwhelmed and to really leverage and take advantage of some of the great tools that are out there that we're seeing in the marketplace around generative AI. So,
Yes.
A lot of entrepreneurs, direct to consumer folks are really ahead of the curve, but really for B2B and wholesale distribution clients, again, we coach them to try and leverage some of these AI tools, many of which are built into the platforms themselves. And we're seeing, a rapid adoption of new features through the APIs using AI, like Open AI's Chat GPT, for instance, as sort of a cognitive engine, really adding some features and functionality into video platforms. So some of the obvious examples are help with scripting, right? Help with some of the production values in terms of different virtual sets and so forth. So we encourage people to just get going and to adopt some of these platforms that have some of these more advanced features.
Yes. What do you see in terms of AI? And probably this is a next topic we need to cover. How do you see this, evolving in 2024? Where do you see this implemented across the value chain, from supply side to demand side? And what are your thoughts on AI in general? How do you see this evolving, in the following year?
So I think generative AI in the e-commerce space and the ERP space has a lot to offer in terms of data management. And we talk a lot about data migration and content. When we migrate between platforms, when we integrate platforms, we're really talking about data. We have a couple of team members here at SCG, a team that really focus on ETL, or extract, transform, and load operations. They work with applications like Informatica. And I think that sort of under the radar, people aren't really talking about it as much. Some of the generative AI features in the platform, like generating product descriptions. We talked about translations earlier today. That certainly has a lot of visibility. But when we talk about generative AI and the ability to generate test data, to help with the migration of data, to fill out data that might be incomplete, I think that's where we're going to see some big advances in the next 12 to 24 months.
Yes. So with this adoption of AI in various places in the value chain, how do you see the staffing, right, on the brand side, supporting these processes? I mean, obviously it can't be the same, right? Different type of expertise, different type of tasks are required. So how do you see the staffing, that needs to support, the future of e-commerce and the adoption of AI?
So I do see it trending to be a little bit more of a specialized field in terms of your company that you're currently working with. Let's say you have an agency that you're working with for e-commerce. They are going to develop skills that center around the correct use of generative AI to really leverage to do more with less. So I think AI right now is gaining a lot of headlines for maybe being related to a lot of the layoffs that we're seeing in the tech industry.
Yes.
I think what you're really going to find is that long term, in the next 2, 3 to 5 years, you're going to see that the impact was really that this is a new set of tooling for companies to use. And certainly, I think a lot of these advanced capabilities that an agency that has trained personnel that's really working and generating this output at such high levels, I think you're going to see more and more that the companies themselves will be able to do a lot of that work. These tools will get more and more accessible to a broader range of folks. A great example is what our team is able to do using large language models, generative AI, in terms of coding. Our programmers are much more productive, but keep in mind they're engineers. So they're able to leverage that very well as opposed to a non-technical business person. And I think in the next 24 months, 3 years out, you're going to see a lot of these advanced capabilities are going to be in the hands of John Q. Public.
Yes. So, Paul, how do you see the current macroeconomics, conditions with inflation going down in the U.S.? I mean, do you see more optimistic, environment from the brands and retailers? How do you feel that is going to influence shopping, in the U.S. in 2024?
Yeah, so we are seeing a lot of caution out there in the marketplace, and I think that's reflected in the recent Wall Street returns. Of course, I always watch with interest Oracle's earning reports, and the Magnificent Seven. I think they've all been affected by this, but we really see that turning around. It's going to be a very contentious year with the election and so forth. So we see a little bit of malaise continuing, maybe into the summer. But we think that with the election concluding, there's going to be a lot of clarity amongst the business community. And I think that many of the business leaders and the clients that we're working with are already sort of wakening up from the holiday doldrums as we go into February and that prime selling season. They're looking to pick up projects that were delayed, maybe new initiatives along the lines of what we've spoken of today. And I think we're going to see a gaining and growing optimism among the business community as they really realize, and I'm seeing this more and more every day, wow, we have access to so many tools now that are going to allow us to do so much more with less, to reach so many new customers in different markets. And we're going to be able to do all of that for a fraction of the cost that we were able to do that even just a few short years ago.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. And what is your perspective of 2023? Because what I hear is like the first 3 quarters were really, really tough. Like there is like a slight recovery in Q4 and, high bounce in Q1 actually look much, much better. What is your, experience of 2023 in the market?
So 2023 was actually a very solid year for SCG team and our clients. It was a year of, and here's that term that is, becoming well known. It's a bit of a buzzword, but I'm fairly comfortable with it because I think it really encapsulates what companies were looking to do in 2023. And I'm seeing that continue into 2024, which is simply digital transformation.
Correct.
Right. In all aspects.
True.
So digitizing systems that were manual, tightening down systems, more integration, and we're seeing that really continue into 2024 and beyond.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really similar to the feedback that we get from brands and their observation of 2023 and plans for 2024. So Paul, it's really was a fascinating discussion. Anything from your side that you want to share or add?
So I tend, one of the things when we're talking about digital transformation, when I'm talking with my clients, I don't often have an opportunity to really talk too much about, SCG team and myself as the owner operator, the manager. I think I, as I spoke of at the top of the call, I provide that oversight and really, involved with all of the clients and their projects. But one of the things that I like to do to really let off some steam and really help me cogitate on clients' tech stacks, where they want to go in 2024. As you mentioned, 2023, the holiday season was just a real blowout. Yeah. So one of the things that I like to do is take the clients, their ideas for where they want to go, projects that we're working on, and I like to cogitate on them here in our beautiful headquarters location of Palm Springs. So
Okay.
Southern California, the desert, and we have some great hiking available here. And I really like to go on walk and talks and hiking. A lot of my audience can see that sometimes I film little videos out there on the trail. And that's what I would recommend to all of my clients and companies that are really thinking about the next step in their digital transformation is really, go out there, get into nature, really turn these things over in your
Yes.
head, and then look for some great partners, right, that can help you execute your vision.
Amazing, amazing. Like clearing the clutter, right? And put some
Exactly
more
so.
space for thinking and tuition and wow, really, really amazing. So I would love to do one of those hikes, together at some point of time.
Well, maybe
So
if you are in our neighborhood, we have E-tail West coming up here in Palm Springs in
yes,
February.
yep,
So ITAN, not just yourself, but anybody that might be attending the show, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to host you at our happy hour that's going to be at the Parker Hotel. That's going to be
wonderful.
during E-tail West here coming up in February, right here in Palm Springs.
Great, great that you mentioned that. And Paul, thank you so much for your great insights and inspiration for the industry and for the coming challenges. Paul, what is the best way to reach out to you and to SCG team?
Yeah, we're available on all of the social platforms, the usual suspects, our YouTube channel, but you can find the nexus of everything SCG team at seibertconsulting.com.
Amazing, amazing. So thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting you here at our show.
Thank you, I-10. I've followed your career and Vimy very closely. It was really exciting to be part of the podcast, and I look forward to hearing from your guests of this episode.
Amazing. Thank you, Paul. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. Your support means the world to us. If today's episode has been insightful for you, consider sharing it with someone who would also benefit. Even one share can make a big difference. Looking to elevate your e-commerce game? Discover Vimy, a multi-channel e-commerce platform that will transform your business with the power of shoppable video. Visit us at vimy.net to learn more. It's Vimy, VIMMI.net. Thank you for being part of our journey. Stay tuned for more invaluable insights in our next episode.